Flashing ambulance lights cut through the night outside a quiet home in Mount Holly, North Carolina. Paramedics rush in, finding 32-year-old Stacy Robinson Hunsucker unresponsive on her living room floor. Her husband, Joshua, says she collapsed without warning. He tells one story, then another. By the time the police arrive, confusion fills the room. Within hours, he refuses an autopsy. Within 2 days, Stacy is cremated. To neighbors, it looks like a tragic loss. To investigators, it's the start of a crime case that will shake the entire state. What began as a husband's heartbreak will soon reveal something far darker: a calculated crime hidden in plain sight. Stacy Robinson. Hunsucker was 32 years old and lived in Mount Holly, North Carolina. She worked as a preschool teacher at a local daycare and was known for her patience with children. She was married to Joshua Hunsucker, a flight paramedic with Atrium Health. Together, they had 2 young daughters who were the center of her life. Stacy spent most of her free time doing crafts with them, baking, or planning family beach trips to the Carolina coast. Friends said she was dependable, caring, and deeply involved in her church community. She often volunteered at Sunday school and took part in charity drives that helped local families. People around Stacy saw her as the kind of person who made time for everyone. She cared for her students like they were her own and rarely missed a family gathering. Those who knew her said she was steady, thoughtful, and proud of the life she built in Mount Holly. She didn't live extravagantly. She focused on her home, her children, and the people she loved. From the outside, everything about her life looked stable. A devoted wife, a loving mother, and a teacher with strong faith. But what no one realized was that danger was growing closer each day, hidden where she least expected it. Before we continue, take a second to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Your support helps us keep telling these stories. And while you're here, drop your city or state in the comments below. We love seeing where you're watching from. In 2013, Stacy began experiencing strange health problems that no one could explain. She would feel dizzy, short of breath, and sometimes collapse without warning. At first, doctors thought it might be stress or fatigue, but the symptoms kept returning. Her heart rate would drop suddenly, then spike for no reason. On several occasions, Joshua was the first to respond, using his medical training to revive her or call for help. He worked as a flight paramedic and had access to medical equipment and knowledge that most people didn't. To friends and family, he looked like a husband doing everything possible to save his wife. Doctors ran test after test, but they couldn't find a clear cause. Stacy was young, active, and had no history of heart disease. After multiple hospital visits, physicians decided the safest option was to implant a pacemaker to regulate her heartbeat. She was still in her 20s. The decision confused even her doctors, but the episodes were serious enough to justify it. For a while, the device seemed to help, and life went back to normal. She returned to teaching, taking care of her kids and keeping up with daily routines. Joshua continued his work as a paramedic, often away for long shifts. Over the next few years, Stacy's condition appeared to stabilize, but small incidents kept happening at home. She would feel lightheaded after meals or complain of sudden fatigue. Her family noticed, but trusted Joshua's reassurance that she was fine. He told people she was under medical care and that her pacemaker was doing its job. Every new episode seemed to happen when she was alone with him, but no one made that connection yet. By late 2018, her health took a sharp turn for the worse. The episodes became more frequent, and her body could no longer recover as quickly. To outsiders, it looked like her heart condition was getting worse. But in truth, the cause of her decline wasn't natural. Someone was manipulating it. Someone who knew exactly how to make it look like a medical emergency. On November 22, 2018, paramedics were called to the Hunsucker home in Mount Holly, North Carolina. Stacy was found unconscious, lying on the living room floor. Joshua said he had stepped outside for a few minutes and returned to find her unresponsive. Paramedics worked on her for nearly half an hour, but she never regained consciousness. She was pronounced dead shortly after being taken to the hospital. The cause was listed as heart failure, with no signs of foul play. Police accepted the explanation based on her medical history. Joshua told friends and doctors she had struggled with heart issues for years. He refused an autopsy, saying she had suffered enough and didn't want her body examined. Within 48 hours, he arranged her cremation. To her family, it was too fast, too controlled. They were left with questions, but no way to get answers. After the funeral, Stacy's mother, Susie Robinson, began to notice changes in Joshua's behavior. 2 days after her daughter's death, he filed an insurance claim for $250,000. He later filed a second claim under a separate policy. The speed of it alarmed her. He didn't talk about his grief or the children's well-being. Instead, he focused on paperwork, policies, and payouts. Within weeks, he started seeing another woman, posting photos, and attending public events with her. Susie confronted him about the timing, but Joshua brushed it off, saying he was moving forward with his life. That same winter, neighbors saw him buying new furniture and taking weekend trips. The man, who had lost his wife of 10 years, was living like nothing had happened. As months passed, the family's doubts grew. Joshua's co-workers said he talked about money more than mourning. He purchased a new boat, took luxury vacations, and spent freely. His new girlfriend appeared at social gatherings, wearing jewelry he had recently bought. Those who knew Stacy couldn't understand how a man who claimed to love her could move on so easily. Co-workers described him as upbeat, sometimes even joking about life insurance. The talk around Mount Holly grew louder. Friends of Stacy's parents began contacting authorities, urging them to look deeper into the case. Each new rumor, each inconsistency, pointed toward something being wrong. In August 2019, 9 months after Stacy's death, her mother contacted the North Carolina Department of Insurance. Investigators there began reviewing the life insurance claim and found something Joshua had overlooked. A small vial of Stacy's blood, taken at the hospital before her death, had been preserved. It was part of routine medical testing and stored according to hospital policy. Investigators requested it for analysis. The results were shocking. Toxicology tests found lethal levels of tetrahydrozoline, a chemical commonly found in eye drops. The concentration in her blood was more than 30 times higher than what could result from normal use. It was strong enough to stop a person's heart. This discovery revealed that Stacy hadn't died from a natural heart condition. She had been slowly poisoned. The medical episodes that began years earlier now made sense. They were consistent with gradual dosing over time. Detectives began building the case. They searched Joshua's digital history, reviewed his purchases, and interviewed his colleagues. That's when they learned about another local case where a nurse had killed her husband using the same poison. Several people recalled Joshua talking about that story months before Stacy's death. He had even joked at work, saying, "You could kill someone with eye drops, and they'd never know." When those words resurfaced, they gave investigators what they needed to move forward. The evidence connected his medical background, his behavior, and the toxicology results. In December 2019, authorities arrested Joshua Hunsucker at his workplace and charged him with first-degree murder and insurance fraud. The crime case quickly gained national attention. Reporters filled the courthouse, and headlines across the country described it as one of the most shocking cases North Carolina had ever seen. The man once seen as a skilled paramedic and devoted husband was now accused of poisoning his wife for money. After his arrest, Joshua was granted bond and allowed to return home under supervision. Instead of keeping a low profile, he began targeting Stacy's parents, John and Susie Robinson. Investigators later learned he set up cameras near their home and followed them on multiple occasions. He filed police reports claiming John had assaulted him, presenting small injuries and scratches as proof. Detectives later determined those wounds were self-inflicted. He was trying to make it appear as though Stacy's family was harassing him, hoping to shift suspicion and create confusion around the ongoing crime case. His behavior escalated over the following months. Court documents showed he repeatedly sent threatening messages to Stacy's parents, accusing them of trying to destroy his life. Police traced several false emergency calls back to his location. He wanted to frame John Robinson as unstable and violent, creating the appearance of a family feud instead of a murder investigation. Detectives monitored his movements and collected new evidence showing he was violating bond conditions. But what came next was far worse than anyone expected. While out on bond, Joshua carried out an act that stunned investigators. During a visit with one of his daughters, he used the same chemical that killed Stacy, tetrahydrozoline, found in eye drops, in an attempt to harm her. Prosecutors later said he was trying to create new evidence suggesting that the Robinson family had poisoned the child in revenge, hoping to make himself look like a victim. His plan failed. The child survived after being taken to the hospital for treatment. Toxicology tests matched the same compound found in Stacy's blood, linking Joshua directly to both incidents. Authorities immediately revoked his bond. He was taken back into custody and charged with new counts of attempted murder and witness intimidation. The court found that he posed a danger to others and had no intention of following release conditions. His arrest ended months of harassment against Stacy's parents and confirmed investigators' belief that he would go to any length to protect himself. From that point on, Joshua remained behind bars, awaiting trial for a crime that started inside his own home and almost took another innocent life. Today, Stacy's parents, Susie and John Robinson, are the legal guardians of their two granddaughters. They live in Gaston County, North Carolina, and have focused their lives on raising the girls in a safe and stable home. The children are growing up surrounded by family who continue to tell them about their mother's kindness and dedication. Susie has said in interviews that she wants her granddaughters to know the truth about what happened and to understand that their mother's life mattered. The Robinsons have attended every hearing related to Joshua's case, determined to see justice carried through to the end. The investigation that exposed Joshua Hunsucker's crimes began because Susie refused to accept what she was told. When doctors listed heart failure as the cause of death, she didn't believe it. Her persistence led her to contact the North Carolina Department of Insurance months after her daughter's death. That call led investigators to the preserved blood sample that changed everything. Without it, the crime might never have been solved. The single vial of blood revealed the presence of tetrahydrozoline, the same chemical used in common eye drops, proving that Stacy had been poisoned over time. It was the piece of evidence that linked Joshua to the crime beyond any doubt. Law enforcement officials later said the case showed how critical small details can be in uncovering hidden crimes. What started as a simple insurance review became one of the most detailed forensic investigations in state history. Each test, interview, and report traced back to the same conclusion. Stacy's death was not an accident. It was a planned act by the person she trusted most. For her family, that truth was difficult, but it allowed them to finally understand what had happened inside their home. Their determination and cooperation with investigators ensured that Joshua's actions were fully exposed and that the case would not be forgotten. The Hunsucker case remains one of the most studied crime cases in North Carolina in recent years. It shows how persistence, evidence, and the instinct of one parent can bring hidden facts to light. It also highlights how a small piece of preserved evidence can rewrite an entire story. Stacy's family continues to focus on their grandchildren, honoring her memory through them. As Susie once said during an interview, "We lost our daughter, but we didn't lose our fight for the truth." Sometimes justice doesn't come from power or position. It comes from love that refuses to give up. The case of Joshua and Stacy Hunsucker shows how danger can hide in ordinary places. From the outside, their life looked normal. They had a steady marriage, 2 children, a home in Mount Holly, and careers that made sense together, a teacher and a paramedic. But inside that home, trust was being used as a weapon. Joshua's medical knowledge gave him the means to manipulate a condition that doctors couldn't explain. Every symptom, every fainting spell, fit a pattern that no one recognized until it was too late. The investigation later confirmed that her declining health had nothing to do with her heart. It was the slow result of poisoning, carried out by someone who knew how to make it look natural. This crime case proves that evil doesn't always come with warning signs. It can appear calm, polite, and professional. In this case, it wore a uniform and carried medical training. Joshua used his background to hide what he was doing and to gain sympathy when Stacy died. For months, no one questioned his version of events. The truth only surfaced because her mother trusted her instincts and refused to let the case go cold. That decision changed the outcome of an investigation that could have easily ended with no answers. This case is also a reminder of how emotional control, medical manipulation, and financial greed can exist together in silence. Each act in this story, from the poisoning to the insurance fraud, was planned with care and patience. It's a warning that people who commit these crimes often count on others to look the other way. The Hunsucker investigation forced doctors, law enforcement, and the public to pay closer attention to details that don't fit the story being told. Sometimes, a single doubt can lead to the truth. If there's one lesson to take from this case, it's to trust your intuition. When something doesn't feel right, there's usually a reason. Stacy's mother followed that instinct, and it saved the truth from disappearing forever. Her persistence exposed a crime that could have remained hidden and brought justice to a daughter who couldn't speak for herself. If you were Stacy's mother, would you have noticed the signs sooner, or believed it was love until it was too late? Tell us what you think in the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We post new true crime stories every week, cases that reveal what people are truly capable of.